Hello crafted shutter watchers, welcome to another important video today. As much as this is painful for me to do, it is actually important for you to listen to this video to understand the stock video and photo business, okay? I cannot stress enough that I will probably put this on my podcast, which I think I link below as well. So if you want to listen to this as you drive, that's important too. Somebody wrote a pretty good article I'm going to walk through by Paul Roberts in the Seattle Times on Getty Images. And this actually goes over the industry as a whole. It's lessons that we can learn. It's ways that we can start thinking about our future as stock video producers and how to combat image powerhouses like Getty Images and do better for ourselves than what they are doing for us. Okay, so if you're serious about trying to earn any kind of income from stock, whether it be in photo or video, this is very important for you to listen to. And I will give some comments as I read through this. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Ring that bell. This is the only channel that will bring you this kind of information, and I will always shoot straight with you and tell you the truth because I feel that is what you deserve. I am here to help all artists survive. Photo, video, freelance. We are here to survive and to thrive together. So that is why I'm doing this. And I got myself a little bit of happy water because I'm going to need a little bit of happy water, a little bit of calming liquid in there as I go through this article. So hang with me. It says, with its vast archive of more than 350 million images, a stable of award-winning photojournalists, and an annual revenues of nearly $1 billion, Seattle-based Getty Images may be the most dominant player in the picture business. Before I go any further, my question is, who made them the dominant player? We did, okay? We can also make them the undominant player. It is also arguable the most controversial. Getty has been criticized for selling rights to photos that are freely available in the public domain. It was infamous for an aggressive copyright strategy that until recently included cease and desist orders and debt collections against anyone, even churches and small organizations, that used its images without permission. And critics say Getty can be tough on people who make those images in the first place, which is us. Just over half of Getty's revenues, according to the industry estimates, come from distributing stock photos, images of generic subjects such as houses or orange juice or corporate executive that a commercial client might use in brochures, websites, or advertisements. The stock photo business is highly competitive, with Getty and its rivals such as Adobe and Shutterstock steadily cutting prices to keep market share. It's not quite true. Adobe has actually increased some prices in some and actually held the market steady. Thankfully, they came along and stopped that, okay? Shutterstock is actually the one that decreased prices the most. They're actually the ones that hurt the industry the most. That's just, I mean, I've been around this a long time. You can go back and check me on that, but that's just a fact. Steadily cutting prices to keep market share. Last month, for example, Getty announced plans to move entirely to a royalty-free pricing model that would make stock images even cheaper for clients. And I know that hurt a lot of RM artists. I would recommend you search out places like Stocksy, like Almany, like other places that will give you RM or highly exclusive opportunities for your work, okay? Getty's not the only game in town. But if lower prices have benefited Getty's customers, they've also meant less money for stock photographers. Really? Who have seen their earnings steadily fall. In some cases to as low as a few pennies per image. Thank you, Getty Images. We really love you. Craig Peters, the new CEO of Getty Images, is unrepentant. He does not care about you or anything that you produce. He says Getty's pricing is simply acknowledges that stock business is no longer dominated as it was 20 years ago by a small group of photographers supplying small number of customers at relatively high price points. To the contrary, as megapixel smartphone cameras and inexpensive broadbands have saturated the market with even better, even cheaper images, Peter says older business models have fallen aside, as have players who depend upon them. Basically what Getty says is we flush them down the toilet. Oh, because people still pay for products. He points to Corbis Images, Getty's one-time crosstown rival, which Getty acquired parts of in 2016, and which Peters notes was tenaciously sticking to an outdated pricing model right up until the end. Others are less matter-of-fact about the industry's changes. It's a race to the bottom, says Francis Zira, a Seattle area commercial and architectural photographer who sells stock images through Getty and other agencies. Well, take your stuff off of Getty! He actually shot Getty Seattle offices in the Chinatown International District for the company in 2013, of which they gave him a roll of toilet paper as a thank you. Sorry, I slipped. Getty's new pricing strategy, Zura says, simply encourages customers to expect stock photography for next to nothing. It's the old joke, why buy the cow when the milk is free? Jim Pickerel, a veteran stock photographer and industry critic, agrees. Getty's latest move, he says, can only accelerate the slide of stock business toward a strictly low-income, part-time, amateur endeavor. I disagree. Stick with companies that pay a fair price because people are still buying at a fair price. Make sure your content is good. Go exclusive if you need to. But to penny out and bottom out everything is not an answer. And by the way, they're running themselves out of business in the long run because I'm not going to give them jack, okay? Critics also note that Getty, for its forward-looking rhetoric, hasn't entirely escaped its own past. Not least the 2008 decision by founders Mark Getty, grandson of oil tycoon Jean-Paul Getty, and Jonathan Klein, to sell out to a private equity firm, which saddled Getty with more than $2 billion of debt. Last year, in what was widely seen as a turnaround effort, the Getty family acquired a controlling share in the company and promoted Peters to CEO, and raised $600 million in outside capital for much-needed investment. But the turnaround has been slow. I'm so glad. Why would I want to turn around penny sales? Although, as a privately held company, it doesn't publish financial data because it doesn't have much. Industry insiders say Getty's earnings before taxes, interest, and other expenses in the first half of 2019 were up barely 3% over the same period in 2018. And I'll be happy when it says down by 3%, 10%. Wipe them out, move them away, shut them down. The points to Getty's larger challenge, the supply of new photographs and video, is exceptionally outpacing what producers or distributors can charge for each one. Not true. Depends on what you're producing. Peter says that since the late 1990s, the volume of licensed images Getty distributes annually has probably grown by a factor of 30 to 60, while company revenues have roughly tripled. Company revenues have tripled. The amount of imagery that you need to provide today, the economics of that have completely shifted, he says, because we don't pay you anymore. In some respects, Getty Images is suffering from its own success. Getty and Klein founded Getty Images in 1995 in London when the stock photography business was an inefficient but lucrative seller's market, with small agencies selling premium images for hundreds and even thousands of dollars and splitting the proceeds with photographers. But early on, Getty and Klein saw how digital technologies were disrupting the photo business. In 1997, they acquired Seattle-based Photodisc, a pioneer in web-based photos, and 2 years later relocated their business to Seattle because toilet paper was cheaper there, which was emerging as a center of digital imaging technologies. Over the next decade, as Getty snapped up stock firms and archival collections and built on editorial operations to supply news, sports, entertainment images to media outlets. The company embedded these assets in digital platform that made it cheaper and faster to get images from producers to clients. This is all true. This is the digital revolution, okay? By 2006, Getty had 2,000 employees, large offices in New York and London, and profits of more than $130 million. But the digital image market Getty had helped launch was now moving beyond its control. Microstock agencies such as iStock Photo were stealing market share, and lower-end, often amateur-produced images that sold for $15 or less. Even after Getty bought iStock Photo in 2006, growth was becoming harder and harder to sustain. I'm going to stop there. Getty Images killed iStock Photo when they bought it in 2006 because they absolutely shafted the community and the artist. And the reason for their decline is because of the way they treat the artist. Artist needs to run from this company with their clothes on fire. Okay? Because it's not going to get better. Not in the future in 2020. If you're going to make a decision, make it now. In 2008, Getty and Klein sold the business for $2.4 billion to a private equity firm, Hellman and Friedman, the first of Getty's two private equity owners. The second, Carlyle Group, bought Getty in 2014 for $3.3 billion. The private equity era would bring more ambitious acquisitions, including Corbis image assets in 2016, but it would also bring some critical missteps. Getty's private equity owners had financed the purchase of Getty with massive debt, $2.6 billion in the case of Carlyle, which became Getty's debt. With much of Getty's cash flow now going to service debt and pay dividends to private equity investors, the company struggled to invest in new technology. That posed a potential problem in a business where you're being disrupted by new technology and new competition, says Gregory Fraser, a senior analyst with Moody's Investors Service. At the same time, to generate more needed cash, Getty tried to raise prices on its mid-market or mid-stock images. But that ill-timed move, coming just as cheap microstock was flooding the market, hurt Getty's business, and it lost $100 million in annual revenues by 2016, according to Moody's. Some of that damage has been reversed since the Getty family came on board last fall. The firm had already begun introducing more competitive pricing, including monthly subscriptions. It has also rolled out a host of new technologies and initiatives. The company is beefing up its distribution platforms and now needs less than a minute to get news, sports, entertainment, and other editorial images from photographers' cameras to its news media clients, who still make up 30% of Getty's total revenues, according to Moody's. We need to work with Pond 5 on this for video, people. We need to get them where they can suck off more of the editorial and get more people shooting that to suck the business away from these bottom feeders, okay? So it's, who controls the market? It's who we let control the market. On its commercial side, Getty is using AI-assisted technology to help clients more efficiently search Getty's vast portfolio. Getty even has initiatives to algorithmically adjust clients' image searches so that historically unrepresented stock subjects, such as female physicians, turn up more often. There is a good point there. Underrepresented stock subjects is what you need to be shooting. I'll get into that in the channel later, but there you go, okay? Yet, whether these initiatives will deliver the results Getty Images needs is still uncertain, and I hope that it's in our power to keep it that way. The company's debt, though reduced, remains substantial. As technology and competition continue to drive down the cost of making and distributing images, customers will expect to pay even less. Sure they will. Sure they will. They'll pay whatever cheapest rate they can get, so work with a company that doesn't go too cheap. To compensate, Getty and its rivals have little choice but to keep boosting volumes while keeping costs down. Here's the fact, people. They are running the regular stock producers like you and I out of business because they can operate on 350 million bulk images, and 10 cents on 350 million assets grows pretty quickly. I can't produce that much, okay? And this is one reason why Adobe is really important to be in the market, because they're a powerhouse not just because of stock. They have other avenues. And why Black Box is also good to have in the market, because it can spread out your workload and you can keep your head above water. But we need to support companies that support us and as individuals. Industry experts say that means Getty Images and its rivals will continue pushing down prices paid to stock photographers. How much lower can they go than 25, 30 cents? I mean, it's ridiculous. Pickrell, for example, estimates that the average price for stock imagery today has fallen to around $29. What are they smoking? $29? I'd be happy to get $29 per image download. Wouldn't you be happy to get $29 per image download? John Harrington, a Washington, D.C. based photographer and expert in the photo industry, thinks it's even less in the sub $10 range. That makes more sense. And that some stock photographers are getting per image royalties of fractions of pennies. Thank you, Getty Images. Peters, while declining to discuss average photo prices because they are deciding to do likes and toilet paper in place of money. Sorry, they're not. Hold on there. Acknowledges that with more competition and a larger base of photographers working today, the stream of total revenue royalty payments has become more diffused, yes, and so certain individuals have seen their individual pieces going down, none of which is encouraging for stock photographers themselves. Zira, the Seattle area photographer, says, the download price spiral has made stock photography all but unattainable for professionals like him. Everybody wants pretty pictures as long as they don't cost anything, he says, and that's not a very solid business model. All right. Wow, what an article. I hope that you find that useful as we look into the future. So how can you, as a photographer or a video producer, protect against this? Work with companies who are paying you a fair royalty first and foremost. Second, get model released, property released content. Shoot high editorial content. Advertise your own content. Don't rely on the stock agencies to do it all for you. Make a niche around yourself and become aggressive. Treat it as your own business, not their business. And maybe in the future, I've dabbled with, because I have a few niches, of selling on my own, but I haven't jumped in that foray yet because of the time it takes to invest in that. So it's not all doom and gloom. The price is, it's not even $10. No one here watching this video on Microstock makes $10 per image download. But there are still people on Stocksy and other places that are maybe averaging that, if not higher. Adobe has higher-end collections as well as Shutterstock has higher-end collections. Focus and feed the beast that pays you. Starve the beast that doesn't. Okay, it's that simple. It has changed. It's already changed. There are already free sites out there. I'm not going to mention where you can get all kinds of free pictures for a full copyright. When you get them, you can use them. But they don't have model releases. We have to focus more toward the business side of how things are going and what businesses need, and they're going to need protection. They mentioned that. So a site like Pond 5 offers protection. Making sure your model releases and property releases are in order are critical to success. So yes, for most people, I would say most, not all, but for most people watching, in all honesty, to be a full-time stock video producer is not going to happen. And that's just being honest. You know, even for me, I've added more and more outside work along with my stock. Stock still makes up the bulk of my earning, but I'm not foolish to look in the jar to see that I'm getting fewer and fewer pennies, and it's being spread out among more and more people. So I'm here on this channel to help walk you through stock, to help you either supplement your income or make enough income to help you launch your career, whether it be in your local town or whatever you want to do. But there's still money to be made. Just be very careful of who you work with. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, like I said, go ahead and do that. Check out the community tab. Be sure and support this channel with links below any way you can. And hey, I will see you in the next video.